Hey, everybody, welcome back to Agency Success Community at hosting.com. Today, we're going to break all kind of records. There's over 850 registered for this webinar. The last time I checked earlier this morning, we're seeing people stream in. This is going to sit our record books for my 20-year experience doing live streams like this. So it's something you want to learn. Get a notebook, however you take notes, and get ready. But don't worry, recording will be emailed to you afterwards. It'll be posted to our YouTube channel at hosting.com. You'll have all that. Try to stay up. When you have questions, post those in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to those if we can. If not, we'll try to schedule another webinar on this subject because I know you're going to have lots. But I'm going to get out of the way. Thank you for being here. And Daphne, thank you so much. She is our head of website and content at hosting.com. I have gotten the opportunity to work with her for the last year and a half. It's incredible. She knows her stuff. Last thing I'll mention is everybody tell Daphne happy birthday. It's her birthday today. She specifically, I said, why'd you do this on your birthday? And she goes, I wanted to hang out and do a party. So be sure and tell her happy birthday. But Daphne, thanks so much. I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm here for you. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I almost forgot it was my birthday. I was having too much fun hanging out with you guys to begin with. But I'm so excited to kick this off. So today we're talking about building our first agentic marketing team. Agents in the agentic web has been a super hot topic at every marketing meetup, every SEO webinar I've attended. So obviously we had to get involved, and we're finding tons of different ways to scale what we're doing here at hosting.com across all different departments using agents or using skills, Claude Code on its own. I'll dive into the differences of all of that for you later. But let's begin because we got quite a few slides to go through. Today, the main goal is to teach you how you can take the things you do every day, whether you're a solopreneur, you're running a team, and you're going to learn how we can use different agents and different patterns to cut down time on all the tasks that you're used to doing without scaling your team. So just leveraging your time in better ways. So this is for people who are delivering. We're talking about in-house teams, marketing managers or marketing teams of one. This could be SEO managers who are building their own reports weekly or monthly, content teams that need to do comprehensive competitor analysis, or anybody who's doing any sort of analysis for marketing and trying to juggle all different data points and make it make sense. We're also talking to agencies. It is the Agency Success Program. And we're really here to show you how to optimize your time internally and really make that buck at the end of the day. So we can compress our audits. We can productize our deliverables. So make it something that we can easily spin up again and again while still ensuring that we're getting our costs covered through our clients, and then scaling our clients and really bringing all of this amazing stuff to as many people as possible without having to scale a headcount. I know agency owners are always talking about, is it scalable? Well, this is how we're going to do it. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of different agents that I have created utilizing Claude Code. So we're going to go through step by step in the beginning with all the prerequisites. So this is going to include things like setting up your Anthropic API, which allows your agents to then run on the web without you having a Claude instance open on your browser. We're going to set that up step by step. And then about halfway through the webinar, once we've covered all that ground, I'll share with you my GitHub repo. You'll be able to clone it and spin this up on your own computer. I do want to say that I'm a Mac user, and some of the file paths and things of that nature will be, well, designed for Mac users. So I apologize in advance if that causes any confusion. But if you have Claude open already, this little friend is going to be able to help you with any questions along the way. You can just screenshot one of these slides and say, hey, I'm using Windows. I don't know what's going on. And Claude will give you the alternative solution. So that's a great way to just start using while we're chatting. We talked about some of these different options that we're going to discuss today, but I wanted to give you a visual of what that time saving looks like. A big one for me as an SEO through and through, about a decade in the space. Competitor keyword research, I would put my heart and soul into, and I still do. I just take a little less time because a lot of the heavy lifting now is done by my agents. So, what is Claude Code? There's a lot of different LLMs. There's a lot of different tools. There's multiple Claudes. We've got Claude AI, we've got Claude Bot, which often gets confused as well. But today we're specifically speaking about Claude Code, which is a iteration of Claude that you can use in your terminal, and it allows you to use things like skills, agents, MCP connections, which we're not going to really dive into in much detail today, bar like 3 options. There's a whole world out there to uncover, and that should be a live stream in itself, and scheduled runs as well. So, skills and agents are different. That's something to note right now. So, skills are reusable instruction sets that you keep on your files, and they can be referenced again and again. We will see these in live action once we share the repository. We also have commands, which are prompt templates stored by name and need to be user invoked. So that's used by you, not by agents. And then finally, we have agents themselves. So calling this an agentic marketing team, if you're a technical person, might be incorrect, because the agents are actually not agentic. They have a strict set of rules that we're working with. However, in the marketing sphere, it's very applicable to this use case. But I just wanted to be super clear that we are working with scripted workflows as a foundation. So everything's very scripted. There's really minimal room for error. But what everything that we're doing today does is gives you a wireframe or a foundation to then build off of using just natural language through prompts with Claude Code. So I digress. Let's carry on. We talked a little bit about skills already, but it's the same set of instructions. This is kind of what unlocks that next level. Because when you're having chats, having lots of context or having lots of things that you're trying to do at one time can not improve the workflow like you might think. For example, if you have somebody who's been working at your business for 10 years, you want them to know everything and they know exactly what to pull out at the right time. But when utilizing tools like Claude Code, it's actually better to have strict sets of skills in different projects so that you're not allowing any room for error or any hallucination. It's utilizing your strict instructions. So how it works is a markdown file with short description that tells Claude when to trigger the skills. We will see this in action again when we look at the repo. Everything right now, step by step, is going to be kind of an overview before we get into the nitty gritty. This is an example of a skill at work. So once we created our skills, we can then in our terminal use slash commands with Claude to make it run. I'll show you a couple of these and you'll be running a couple of them as well if you follow these steps later in the webinar. Agents and sub-agents, as discussed, agents aren't in this use case aren't exactly agentic, but we do have different uses of agents because in our Ops Hub, for example, we have our manager agent, which will take all of the knowledge that is delivered by our daily briefing agent, our SEO agent, spell check agent, create doc agent, and then know how to best communicate that back to me. So you don't need to build one massive prompt trying to get everything done at once. You actually want to build small, streamlined workflows that allow everybody to stay on their topic, but then you can also use higher powered options to then be the manager to take all that information and then spit it out to you. In my repository that we'll be looking at today, I included a claude.md file. This is a source of truth for every single agent. You'll see there's a lot of different rules and skills for different agents at different places, but this is like the holy grail. This is like the place of truth. I put as an example here, everything that we use today is just going to be examples and dummy data, allowing you to fill in what is appropriate for you. But for example, we put down our brand voice, where our Search Console data lives, and an overview of my team, so that once this information is shared with me once again, I then know how to split it out. So if we're creating content, then any of the agents know how to do content in our brand voice. They know where our sources of truth for data are. And they also know, when giving me my daily briefing for affiliates, CRO, SEO, that I have X amount of people in different pods who will then actually be able to action the findings that are being delivered to me. So we don't need to re-explain everything every single time we open a new chat or a new terminal. We have consistency. We've got the same voice, and onboarding is easy because this is the one place that everybody, and when I say everybody, I'm talking about these fake bots that are scripts and not people, just to be very clear. But they know where to come to find all the information. And you can expand on this throughout your entire relationship with utilizing these agents through your actions, and then telling Claude, hey, let's make sure to add that to the Claude file because this is really important and we need to make sure every agent references this in the future. All right. Now we're getting to the first action task. And this is about setting up your API key. So, this API key is not a necessity. This is just if you want things to run without you physically, manually having to input a prompt. So, to set it up, you go to console.anthropic.com, and then you'll create an account, set up your billing limits, and monitor your usage. Just for transparency, I opened my account with $20 US, and I have not spent all that money yet. That being said, I'm not using it for business cases. This is just me using it for this webinar. But that's to give you an idea, if you're going to run these agents now, what that cost could look like. And it's totally monitored by you. Here's a couple screenshots just in case you are opening this and getting your API key set up at the moment. You're going to want to head to that API keys menu item on the left-hand side, and then create an API key. I am not going to live demo this because this will live on the internet forever, and I don't want to share my API keys. But it's important to create one if you want to start running these agents on their own. And I'll show you where to store them later once we download our repo. Also, I hope everybody here has installed Claude Code. If not, there are 3 lines that you need to place into your terminal, which are right here. And I should have copied and pasted it so you guys could copy and paste it in the chat, but I didn't. So maybe somebody listening from the hosting.com team could do that right now. But all we need to do is make sure that our prerequisites are done. So we need Node and npm node.js, and you can download this right here. I may even click it just to make sure that it's the right link. So once you get in here, get Node, you can see we've got the macOS installer and the standalone. So continue with the appropriate one. This will allow you to communicate in the terminal as you are progressing with your agents. Once you've set that up, you will see a welcome prompt in your terminal. And you'll notice that there's another presenter on this meeting. It's me on my other computer. So I'm just going to share my screen over there to make sure that you know what I'm talking about. So entire screen. Hopefully that has worked correctly. So here we go. We've got my terminal open. I put in my file path, which you will get later. And then I'm just going to type in Claude. This will then boot Claude in my terminal, which allows me to use the commands that we will share later in the session, such as daily briefing, which we've seen there. But also, the great thing about this is you can still use your natural language prompting. And if you're not sure what to do next, you can also um, ask Claude in your terminal. So, this next part is information to help you once we get to the repo again. So, wiring up your project is an important step, but again, I don't want to share my API keys. So, everything in the repo is placeholders. That's why we went through that step of setting up that Anthropic API, because that's one of the use cases in here. Another API that I use in this agentic set is our Ahrefs API or MCP. It's just a personal preference due to the tool I use and know. Feel free to use any SEO tool or any tool at all. The really important thing I do want to leave you all with today is I would like you to not just download and connect anything, especially if it's something that you have seen on Instagram or have just come across. There's been so many vulnerabilities exposed by like vibe coded projects or people pushing things that could be iffy. So I do want to reiterate that security is very, very important. Make sure you understand the tools that you're using and downloading, and make sure that the sources that you're coming to are reputable. And yeah, just keep that in mind as going through this experience. So, anyways, when we wire up our project with this agentic marketing team, we need to make sure that we have a place that all of our credentials live so it can be referenced by the agents when they're doing their work. So that's Anthropic API key, the Ahrefs API key, Google credentials as well. I have added here with some steps because for me, I like my agents to look at my Google Search Console data and my Google Analytics data and then spit that into a Google Sheet, which then can be crawled by an agent and then live in my data.json file. That means that all of the data that I'm referencing is always the most fresh and up to date. And that when I'm running things like my daily briefing command, that is actually giving me my most up to date daily information as opposed to retaining stale information. So that looks like a couple steps here. Again, not going to spend too long on here. It is not part of the tutorial, but it is just kind of a bonus add-on. If you are currently utilizing Google tools, it's a good thing to do. So these Google credentials you can get by creating a Google Cloud project. You can do that by going to console.cloud.google.com. That's another one that you can copy and paste. Enable the different APIs you need. So for me, that looks like Google Sheets and Google Search Console. That means that then the agent can look at my Google Search Console data and then go and write in Google Sheets where I need it so that that can be a reference point later on. This is kind of a big step in itself again, so please don't try to do it on this walkthrough. It's just a bonus, and here are the steps. And then you'll also be able to update your data, not your data, your environment folder with all of the information as and when you need it. This is just a little image of where to go. Again, screenshot very tightly because I don't want to share any of my personal API keys with you guys today. But you can see that you need to go to keys, add key, and then create new key. And that's where you're going to get all of the information you need to progress. So MCP, we have touched on quite a bit in this webinar already, but just to make sure it's top of mind for everybody, it's a model context protocol, MCP. And basically, it's a USB-C for everything. Information can go in and out. It's very much like an API. It's just made for these large language models like Claude. And it opens up that whole next realm of experience as opposed to just talking to a chatbot. Now Claude is in your Google Drive and building you presentations. I did get Claude Code to build this presentation also. Every single slide was made by Claude Code. It just based on everything that we had built already. So Google Drive, Search Console, Slack, Ahrefs, any other tools. Again, there's millions and they're being produced at a extreme velocity. Just do your due diligence to make sure that they're reputable tools, please and thank you. But once connected, any agent can use it as long as that's explicitly stated that they're allowed to. If you don't want an agent to use a tool for any reason, make sure that that is discussed with your LLM and updated in your either your Claude file or any of the skills files for the particular agents. If you want to connect via MCP in terminal, you can do so by adding a connector. You do not have to do this though. One of my favorite ways when I was getting started was just literally screenshotting what I wanted and then popping it into Claude and saying, "Hey, Claude, can you break this down step by step for me, please? Because this is too much information. I need it broken down so you can walk me through everything." And that's really how I started getting things rolling my own. And it's definitely the benefit is all the information is right there in the platform that you're using, helping you get to the next steps. So that's kind of an overview for the foundations to get started. And now I'm going to share with you the actual agent team that we're going to be using today. And that we'll be sharing with you. So you're going to walk away today with your own team on your own computer that you can then iterate and refine to match whatever you need. I do think it's important to also mention if you are an agency owner or building your business, it is very, very important to be clear with your clients what data you're using, what use cases you're utilizing for agents or AI, Claude in itself, because I do see that being a large hurdle we are all going to have to face in the future. With the same as like cookie consent, we just need to make sure that people know how their data is being used at all times. That being said, everything that I built today, any connectors I had built on my own personal computer, I have not used any hosting.com data just to make sure that things are as clear as can be when sharing with you and sharing with the web. Another great thing that I had Claude do for me when I was posting this and publishing my repo was to go through every single thing and make sure that there was nothing identifiable or questionable heading out there. So just make sure to keep communicating and iterating, and you'll get to where you need to be. So today we're going to talk about our 6 different agents. Number 1, the one that I've mentioned quite a few times already, is the daily briefing agent. I like this guy because he knows what my KPIs look like, what's happening on Search Console. It can be automated. It's not automated in the use case that I'm sharing with you today, just because that makes sure that you don't need to have any sort of setup on your own and you have the foundations to actually build what you want for your team. And then the output, you can see when I go in the terminal and I put daily briefing, that it will output whatever information I need. I'm going to save that demo for once we get to the repo part, and that's coming very soon. I'm just going to overview all of the agents now, and then we'll be right there. Second one is my hosting SEO agent system. I like this because it utilizes different things. Agents do things. That's when the head of AI at Wix, I saw her give a talk at Women in Tech SEO, and she kept saying agents do things, and I just loved that because what are agents? Agents do things, and I think that that makes the most sense. Anyways, I digress. These agents do things, multiple things. This SEO agent system will look at competitive keyword analysis. It has a list of all of my top competitors to review their pricing, to review their content, and then it spits out a roadmap for me so I know where I need to be prioritizing my time to ensure that I'm being competitive in our space. We're looking at high velocity opportunities and no cannibalization. That's part of what is set in that foundation. So what that looks like in-house, we know exactly where we're going to spend our time. For agencies, this is an audit, a deliverable that you can sell. Spell check agent is a funny one because I was trying to do some spell checking on Screaming Frog, but we've got lots of different locales on hosting.com and lots of different US English, UK English, Australian English, all of these different things to consider. So I set up this agent who does full site crawls for spelling and grammar. And that has been such a help for us. Whenever we launch a new page, we can just set him out and then we know if there's any issues. It's another one that you'll be able to run right away also once you clone the repo. And then it can output in Google Sheets if you've set up the Google Sheets API that we had discussed earlier. Hosting Marketing Opportunity Hub is a weekly planning pipeline that uses different agents all at once who then communicate with our manager agent and creates our weekly plan. So this means we don't need to be having that "what are we doing right now" meeting. We can save that time and just have the information right to our hand. Sync sheet just means that all of that live data happening on Search Console that I like to have, because then I have that fresh, relevant content for me, is living in my data.json file, which is part of the repo. And it's where all of my agents will go to ensure that they are using the most up to date information. Then the create doc is just self explanatory. Uh, so now, some mistakes people can make when they're building their first team. Hallucinating numbers, hallucinating any information is probably the number one issue that people experience when using AI as a whole. When we use things like the sheet sync that we had discussed earlier, we know that all of our agents are referencing real data or real KPIs, and they're not going to be making this up. That's very important, especially if you're a data driven agency, which most of us, I believe, are. Um, Output is prose soup. No, we're going to demand JSON. All of that's in our prompts. Agents duplicating work. We don't have any duplication because each of our agents knows exactly what their skill is and what parameters they're set to do. Nobody running it. We can cron it. We can automate it. Or you can just run it yourself. It's really up to you. And then I would ignore the credentials.json is a nightmare. Okay, now we've gotten to the very exciting part. This is where I'm going to ask you to head to github.com/Daphne J. Monroe/marketing agent team and to clone the repo there. You can see here there's a green button that says code. It's on kind of the center right, big green, and we're going to hit download zip on the bottom. I'm loving the Mac fans. I do agree. And once you download it, it should live on your. I've placed it on the desktop just to allow that file path to be really clear. Desktop/marketing agent team main because it's in the main branch. So that gets added into the zip file once you open it. I'm going to stop this share now. Hopefully everybody is getting to a good place. Yes. So the other steps that we discussed earlier, which I will go back to just so people know, if this is your first time ever using, where are we going? Do, 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 do.
Hey, and I want to give a caveat to everybody. If you haven't used Terminal, if you haven't, don't try to do this live with her. Get the gist of it. Slides, recording will be later, but don't go fast, especially if you haven't done these things before. And all that will be for you later, where you can pause, rewind, go back, listen, look at the slides, but don't rush this if you're just doing this. Just get the gist of what she's
100%.
doing.
And also, my LinkedIn was shared. So if you run into any problems along the way, feel free to ask me. That's what the team is here for. And also, you can ask Claude. Claude is a very helpful little 24/7 guy who always knows the solutions in my experience. So yeah, the prerequisites that we discussed here, you can just click nodejs.org. And here you will be able to get Node, and then you can download Mac OS, obviously, would be the option for me. And that should give you everything that you need to then pop in the terminal and use these different skills that we've been discussing. We've been talking a lot about Claude in terminal, which is where we can do our slash commands like daily briefing, which I'm just going to run now. And this is using the current agent system that I've shared with you. If you've gone to my GitHub and cloned the repository, this will then be able to be actioned. If you're like, Daphne, I want to do my own thing, and you're not comfortable with working in the terminal, you can use Claude Code in your desktop app as well. And what you can do here is use plan mode to begin. You can also do all of this here too. You can plan in terminal if you want to start playing around with that. It's the same experience with the LLM side of things. But if you feel more comfortable in this space, you can go to plan mode and you can start to just say, hey, I just watched this amazing live stream and I am inspired to build my agent marketing team. I know I need a place to store my data, and I need to make sure my team runs well, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully, you'll use something better. But then you can also just give it this link and say, this is what Daphne shared. Can we use it as a blueprint? This means you don't need to do things exactly the way that I do them. You can make it your own. And that's kind of the whole philosophy behind this framework that I put together, this wireframe, if you will, is I just want you to see it simplified where I'm using it in actuality, but then you can tailor it to fit whatever your unique needs are. So the plan mode automatically puts Claude Code into this mindset where it's going to create an incredible brief. It's going to use all the reference points you need. You can even download the PDF of the webinar and pop that in too as a bit more context to what we're doing. I'm going to give it a minute to read this, but whilst we're doing that, we can also come over here and look at the agent system that we did use in the terminal using my daily briefing / command. And you can see that I've got my KPI snapshot using the webinar data that you can find in the repository. We don't have the Search Console snapshot at the moment because I have not placed my actual credentials in there. But if you update those files appropriately, as discussed, this will then spit out the correct information. And then we have priorities, decisions needed, risk alerts, et cetera, et cetera. You can then continue to have an open conversation with Claude, which I love. And that's another reason that I would recommend using MCPs as well as APIs. Sorry if this is getting too technical. I do realize that we have lost a couple of people in the flow. But if you followed the flow directly, I've used APIs to connect all of the information. But if we also connect the MCPs, it means that whilst the agents are reporting back on the data that's shared in the data file, Claude also has the context and ability to connect with the tools where the data has been pulled from to allow you to continue that conversation and make better decisions. So going back here, now I've got this conversation happening in plan mode. It wants to take a look. Okay, which can execute, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's my stuff. So personal computer again, just to be super clear on that. If anybody from IT is watching, that is my computer. Anyways, so if you continue this conversation in this section, you can then tailor it to be whatever it is that you need it to be. I'm going to go back to the presentation now. I just wanted to use that as a caveat for anybody who wants a different place to work or a simplified solution to starting their own marketing team. If you have cloned what I have it on your computer, you then should be able to use these / commands as you had seen on my device when I was utilizing the daily briefing one. Another good one to try right off the bat is the spell check agent. As discussed earlier, it was one that came out of an actual use case that we really just needed to have delivered for the company. So all you have to do is type in slash spell dash check, and it will prompt you most likely to place the URL that you would like, or it could automatically have the hosting.com URL, but you can then change that. And then it will run in the spell check and grammar check on your site. You can play around with all of these to see what they output and then have that natural back and forth communication with actual language to then create what it is that you need. So if any of these issues have happened, like data.json not found, you need to fill in your data. The Anthropic API key is not set. That you'll need to go back and do the API steps that we had discussed. Ahrefs key is optional in this flow. So I have actually removed this error when I was troubleshooting before we joined today, just as it was unnecessary. And then node error, just make sure that it's all up to date. So, an overview of the pattern. Agents don't need to work alone. They're sharing a brain. They're sharing a set of rules in the Claude file and in the data file so that they have their single source of truth. You can see all of these in action in this example. We also want to make sure that we're parameterizing everything that we can, just to make sure that our data is not stale. It's always fresh, and every agent knows where to go. So at first, this slide can look a little crazy because 3 times faster, what? When we're talking about parallel API calls. So, for example, with the agents that we're looking at today, we have our hosting SEO agent that fires 3 href calls in parallel. So it's looking at our keyword metrics and our competitor metrics on Ahrefs all at the same time. So you get all of the information right away up front, as opposed to having that change reaction. Our content pipeline fires your site metrics and your competitor metrics all at once. And the competitor intel agent uses promise.all, which means all of these things can happen without you having to set off a workflow, and you can get things faster, 3 times faster, maybe, but faster, definitely. And then if you set things once, you can run it forever. There's a lot of easy ways to automate your agents to run. That, again, is a great reason to be using that API key. The easiest way to do it is in Claude Code's /schedule, where you can literally just schedule what you want in a very simple way. Now look at cost, because that is a hot topic. So obviously Claude Code has its own cost. I think it's about $20 maybe a month. However, when we're also setting up with our Anthropic API key, we have that set restrictions cost in there. So per run, we're looking at about 4 cents for the daily briefing, around $1.50. I keep on wanting to say pounds, but I'm trying to keep it American. $1.50 to $3 for our marketing opportunity hub, which wouldn't be something that you're running all the time. SEO agents, et cetera, et cetera. You can see it all here. So we're looking at about $30 a month in my use. That's realistic to what I'm experiencing. However, the larger your site, the more competitors you want to pull. All of this is very scalable. And what you'll get to do by being in that Anthropic console is you can have budget limits to make sure that you never go over what is expected. Because I do know many cases of people who have not limited their usage and therefore had a very big bill at the end of the month. So be mindful. There's all of the tools in place to allow you to not go over any limits. So also, we want to make sure that we're working on what matters to you, not what matters to just me. So this is the planning mode that we discussed. I also showed you how to do it in the desktop application. But as I said, everything here today is literally just the bare bones foundation, no real data, concepts on how we're using it at the moment to give you the stepping stones to make what you want to make. So the plan mode is the best thing to use off the bat. Make sure that you get a great plan together. Make sure you understand everything that you're working with, and then have the agents working in the way that makes sense to you and your clients. Prompting correctly is also very important. Nathan Ingram has done a lot of content around great prompts. So if you head to the hosting.com YouTube channel, you can see some previous agency success programs where we really dive into detail on this. But reducing wasted tokens is very important because we all want to cut costs and make sure that we're utilizing that heavy lifting only where it matters. So give the agents only the context they need. We don't need to dump entire code bases. We can use checkpoints, ask agents to summarize before moving to next steps. Make sure that you're chunking and working on each thing just one piece at a time, not everything all at once, and avoid open-ended questions. A lot of times when I'm putting together a large prompt and getting started, I will use an LLM to give me the right prompt for Claude Code to make sure that I'm ticking all the boxes, like, and also adding things like make no mistakes, or pretend you're a member of the legal team and review all of this and make sure it's okay. Um, that stuff really works in my experience. You just maybe want to open up another chat to make sure that the context is new and that you're using the right instance for each of these cases. General hygiene as well. So if your agent goes off track, this one's really key. You want to stop and restart with a tighter prompt. You don't want to keep trying to build off of what's going wrong because that's just expensive. Um, we also want to make sure that for recurring tasks, we have a reused prompt or a skill set that we can just launch again and again so that we're not just repeating and wasting time around all of that. So, agents are here to do our busy work. I love it. I am finding so many great ways to utilize it day to day. As I mentioned earlier, we're using agents all over the business. In our design department, we are sectioning all of our different brand standards so that we can whip up landing pages and wireframes with a single prompt. We have Orby, our chatbot, who has been going through and triaging questions and solving some simple solutions and allowing our customer experience to just shoot through the roof. People are getting their answers done quickly, not waiting for people to respond. And then from the SEO side, having all of the data and information, every source all together in one where I can just ask a question. I mean, it has been phenomenal. But now we'd like to answer some questions from you guys. Um, I'm sure there is going to be a lot.
When we get to the agent part, I think you had 6 agents. Those are obviously for your context, what you're trying to do, and they're good. There's universal things in there. But that process of mindset, when you're thinking through that, you go, at some point, you go, of all the work we're trying to do, the goals and stuff, I want a daily briefing. That was back to your specific role. Could you talk through that process of just determining what agents you even included on your team?
Yeah, for sure. The daily briefing one, if you look at the file that you'll get from the repository, it is very specific to my role because that's just my experience. So that's something that I expect you will tailor to your needs. But it was like, okay, so I know in the website and content department, we've got front end development, CRO team, SEO team, community, social media. I was like, we got all this information, all of these competitors spitting out different things in these spaces. Then we work very closely with affiliates. So I want to make sure that that's part of this as well. So I just kind of brain dumped the structure, who does what our KPIs are, and what our goals are, and then had that back and forth conversation with Claude and created that foundation for what I would need every day to make sure that first and foremost my day is data driven. I'm working at the most priority pieces for the business. But that also I know what to communicate to my team if something shifted, if there's a keyword drop that doesn't make any sense, or competitor has launched a new product, and I'm like, well, why don't we have this product? That's the kind of conversations that can start for us.
That's excellent. Let's see here. And by the way, Daphne's got some excellent SEO and AEO topics on our YouTube channel in the past. You'll want to go find those out. Someone was asking about that.
I'm
Too.
just gonna answer this first one. So
Yeah,
always
go for it.
output JSON, never prose. Never prose soup. I guess that was a bit jargony. I'll always output JSON. Just for me, that is the easiest to read file format and how I want all that information to be stored. I think that was in reference to the Search Console data being then placed onto our data.json file. It needs to always be JSON. It shouldn't just be like feelings and lots of words, just very clear instructions, but my instructions clearly weren't clear.
Efficient, machine readable
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
not human things that you need to consume because you're trying to get that data to pull it out. And JSON is the format that you want it in
Exactly.
so that it's so efficient for the computers.
Um, what would the top 10 use cases you use on a daily basis? So my work really is mostly around SEO, content creation, um, use cases that I use on a daily basis. A huge one for me has been price scraping. That used to be a monthly manual task in a Google spreadsheet where we would look at what all of our competitor pricing is to make sure that we're matching in the market. It's very volatile and shifts a lot depending on who's having offers and all that. Now I can just say, come give me a report with all the pricing in it, and it happens automatically. Low hanging fruit like content duplication across the site, lots of SEO wins would be my top use cases. But then again, throughout the business, just automating and optimizing. I'd say the best thing people can be doing today as agency owners is working on skills that allow you to get your content briefs and plans in order so you're not doing all of that thinking, but you can do the actioning and do the being human part that really matters. Um, that's where we're seeing the most success. You can use Claude Desktop as well. I don't believe you can use slash commands in Claude Desktop. However, no, you can. You can. So yes, I think it's just preference. Can I link my email from myhosting.com to Claude? I don't know that answer. Your email that you've purchased with hosting.com, that you have access to the email account, I believe you absolutely can open an account with that if that's your email.
Yeah, you want to use whatever you need for your email apart from hosting.com for your AI work, but that's what something you choose for sure.
Example two, hosting SEO agent system. Can this replace subscriptions? Absolutely, it can. However, I like to leverage these tools within these systems. Um, the more data points you have, the better. And things like SEMrush and Ahrefs obviously house a lot of data in a single space. So I connect them via the API. However, you can also just have your agents do that research for you as well by utilizing free tools and setting that up to be automated so you're not wasting your time trying to like create accounts for all these free usage. You can have agents do that for you. That's probably something that we don't want to put in the recording though, because it's probably not a use case that we should be promoting. What tier Claude? I'm only using the Pro, so I do hit my token limit. Absolutely. But that's because this is for my personal use, and then I obviously have a different account for my work use. But when I'm having a lot of fun and trying to create, like the other day, I created a Tamagotchi that was also like a sobriety day counter because everybody has this sobriety, not everybody, but there's a lot of sobriety apps out there. It's like, what if we make them interactive and we can tell them how we're doing and we can get little treats, we can feed them and play games. So that was a lot of fun to create. And I definitely used all my tokens that day. Do we need to work with Google? No, you do not. You can use any tool that you want. Just make sure it's a trusted tool. And if you have clients, make sure that your clients are okay with that being shared with AI as well. Running agents in parallel, getting the results makes sense. Oops, everything's jumping around. Sorry. What's the difference in cost to getting the results 3 times faster makes sense? What's the difference in cost of tokens? I haven't really noticed a huge shift in cost. Nothing that has been flagged to me in my use case as even something to discuss.
If you're worried about some of this, look at some for GitHub skills, copy some of that straight off of GitHub on the skill. Okay. Edit it, make it yours, and just put it into straight Claude and see what it kind of comes up. This is an automation process to really run a team, and Daphne has a large team doing a lot of work. It's made her more efficient, helpful, work to process through it. But you can still start with some of these same skills by using the skills that she put in the GitHub as prompts to ask, and what you would need a part of that. And Chad or Claude will tell you what back it might need on some of that. That's a way to kind of utilize some of the things she's done. She's put those skills she knows, human type skills in her head, into a language called a skill for chat or Claude, to run those automatically, to be on her team to scale what she's doing. Would that be accurate, Stephanie?
I'm so sorry. I wasn't listening.
Okay.
I've been reading
It's
these
okay.
questions because I'm wary that we've only got 1 minute and there's like lots and lots of questions. But the great thing about all these questions is me and the team, we're content people, we will take them and write articles to answer these and have some clarity for y'all to make sure that we're as equipped as possible moving forward. So if you head to hosting.com, the blog we have, if you search office hours or anything around live streams, we take questions from every single live stream and answer them for you in as much detail as possible. We have a fantastic team, Constantine, Harry, Ree, Assad, just shout out some names. So would creating running agents through Claude replace having to use a tool like Victor? I have not used those tools.
Well, what was yeah, you can keep going.
Have you compared Claude with Grok? Do you have a preference? I do like Grok for image creation, I have to say. And if you're a salesperson, Grok is great as well because Grok will give you personal information. When I asked it about myself, it knew too much. So there's different use cases for each tool. You just got to use what's right for you. Right now, I'm loving the Claude ecosphere. Also talking about Cowork, I use Cowork as well, differently. I use Cowork for kind of my different projects. So like I have an SEO one, content one, and then I just know that I can keep going back to that single space for those kind of longer text tasks, whereas these agents are more the doers, as opposed to the co-work is like it's helping me do the next step, but they're all kind of just wrappers of the same thing, right? So you just got to use what's right for you and what feels the most natural. I'm going to leave it there though because
Yes,
it's late and it's my birthday.
her birthday, she needs to go celebrate with her husband and have a great time. Happy birthday again. You all say thanks please to Daphne. Tell her we want her back. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll be emailed with the recording, the slides, all that shortly afterward. Give us a couple of days to digest all this. But thank you so much, Daphne Monroe, head of web and content at hosting.com, for sharing this whole marketing agentic and how you do it, to give us ideas and inspiration for our own work. Thank you all for joining Agency Success at hosting.com. We do these 4 to 6 a month like these. In addition to that, we do office hours where you can ask questions. It's all questions. So if you're an agency owner, developer, freelancer, consultant doing web, that's your home, Agency Success. So thank you everybody for today. And thank you again. Happy birthday, Daphne. Go celebrate.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you.